Salute. What's good, y'all? This is JCJ, and thank you so much for joining another episode of JCJ Ambition. Today, we're going to talk about why Kenya is the best place for foreigners to do investment and business. So I recently secured my business, Ambition Worldwide, in Kenya, and it definitely was not an easy journey, but it was definitely a journey that I really appreciate and taught me a lot about doing business on the continent, even to register and to gain certain partnerships and business relationships. My business is focused on the education and consulting, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about Ambition Worldwide in the future to give you guys more of an overview of what I'm looking to accomplish on the continent. But since I have successfully registered as a Black American with no ties to Kenya, so usually it's easier for someone who's a descendant or who's a straight Kenyan to do the investment while in Kenya, or for a business that has a capital of 100,000 and more to do business. All they have to do is give the 100,000 and register with Ken Invest, and they're good to go. However, for someone without that capital, it is extremely hard to do business in Kenya unless you know certain loopholes or the right route to take. So what I'm about to talk today is to people in the diaspora, Blacks in the diaspora, also foreigners, regardless of color. If you're interested in investing in the continent, this information is going to be useful to you. So today, we're going to discuss the methods that I took to actually make that happen. I recently thanked Dr. Harnett for giving the information that so it would be possible for me to even invest in the continent. A big part of doing that was definitely being able to learn the path that it takes as far as registration and also the connections. Now, why do I say the path and the connections? If you think that you're just going to get on the e-portal, the Kenya portal, and be able to register that way and be successful, you have another thing coming, especially if you're a foreigner and your boots are actually not on the ground. Per this recording, I am actually in Kenya. I do have an apartment in Kenya. I stay out in Kenya half of the year, and I have a business out here that I just started that I'm looking to get going. I also have a business in the States. I'm a landlord out there, and I also have a part-time online job as well. So I'm able to juggle all of these things and make sure that I can get my goals and dreams to fruition. But before I begin, I want to talk a little bit about my journey. Initially, when I heard this from Dr. Harnett, I wasn't sure how true it was, because in Ghana, when I went to Ghana, they at the time required $500,000 capital for me to invest. So they do the whole, return to Africa thing, return to Ghana, year of the return. But the truth is, unless you get married to a Ghanaian, or unless you're descended or you're a Ghanaian itself, it's going to be extremely hard for you to invest in Ghana, unless you get your citizenship, which, by the way, is very possible if you do have lineage, proof, and different information to show, and you network. You can actually become a citizen in Ghana, and then you will be able to invest in that way as well. But for most of us, obviously, we don't have that. We're not living in Ghana where we can establish citizenship or lineage, which is hard to prove, and it's a long process, and it's not guaranteed. And so investing in Africa, the best way, from what I've seen, being someone who's traveled to 6 African countries and my experience in Ghana and experience here in East Africa, Kenya is the best sub-Saharan African country to invest in for a foreigner. Now, why is that the case, and why am I putting an emphasis for a foreigner? Because as I've mentioned before, they are better countries to invest in if you are a citizen of that country. However, for the purpose of this video, I'm talking to foreigners, Blacks in the diaspora, people like me who wish to invest in the continent and not necessarily just have an emotional tie and go to Tanzania and then have to return back home. Something tangible where they can actually benefit from it and they would be able to make an impact. So my business is an education and consulting business that is steeped in career services and vocational rehabilitation. I'm going to be developing contracts with the colleges throughout East Africa and also with the NGOs for vocational rehabilitation. I have over 14 years experience, professional work experience. About a year and a half ago, I quit my job. I was making $94,000 as a vocational rehabilitation counselor for the Department of Veteran Affairs for the U.S. government. So I have a lot of experience in that sector, and I plan to make it transferable to this one as well. Some of the things that I'm bringing to the table are very important key things, and I think that if you're going to come to the continent and really invest, you want to make sure that you're bringing things that are tangible, bringing certain skill sets that you can offer to the continent, and also that you could benefit from financially, emotionally, by being able to help the people and deliver a service that's not very common here. So the majority of colleges in Kenya and also throughout East Africa do not generally have career services centers. So what I'm planning to actually do is to build contracts through online classes and so forth, where people can have career development and career services throughout the colleges to serve the young people. Now, the reason this is so important is because Africa also has some of the youngest people throughout the whole world that live, especially in East Africa, Kenya and Uganda. Uganda, over 60% of their population is under the age of 30. So that's a huge market and a huge emerging educational market that I saw a gap in, that I could take advantage of, and also that I can help assist as well too, and be of service to be able to contribute to the people's development in a positive way, and also to my development as well with establishing a business. So it's a reciprocal relationship. It's not a relationship where I'm just giving funds and monetary things to Africa, not getting anything in return, whether it's citizenship or a business I'm not able to establish, and then you're forced to marry someone just so you can have some type of rights here. I am Pan-African. I do believe in being Pan-African, the ideology overall. However, I also believe in being logical, rational, and being able to benefit in a positive way, where you're not scamming anyone, where you're doing something productive and offering legitimate services that people can benefit from. And that's what I'm all about. So that being the case, my company in America is called JCJ Ambition Worldwide Enterprises. And here on the continent, it's Ambition Worldwide because I'm not able to use the acronyms in the business, so forth. So that's why I'm not able to use it here on the continent. But it's still JCJ all day, you feel me? But yeah, it's a very important thing that I think more people need to learn how to do. And we need to become more resourceful. So I am going to explain some of the methods that I utilize, how I was able to make it happen, and why I believe at the end of the day, Kenya is the best place for a foreigner to invest. All of this is facts. All of these things I'm going to show on the screen as evidence to showcase to you guys what I did and certain paths and methods that you should utilize. One of my dreams actually is to develop a coalition with other Pan-Africans for people that are interested in relocating to East Africa and helping assist them with businesses, getting things established, because ultimately I plan on expanding into other countries in East Africa. So for example, I've been to Tanzania, I've been to Rwanda, I've been to Ethiopia, but not really. I just went through there in and out. Obviously, I'm in Kenya right now. I've been here multiple times. I've been to Uganda multiple times. And I'm going to be living back and forth between Uganda and Kenya when I officially relocate here on the continent. So, you know, like everyone else, COVID pushed my plans a bit back, but I'm still on course, and I was able to successfully get the business registered and officiated. And also I built some very good government business contacts to help assist. Say if I even know other people, other Pan-Africans, I could always refer them to legitimate contacts that could help them with establishing their business. The number one thing that I want to point out to you guys is Africa is pay to play. There is no way that you're going to come on the continent and think that you're going to just get what you want just because you're black and they're black and there's a brotherhood, because really there is no brotherhood like you think there is. You may be Pan-African in the States, but your experience is completely different to a lot of people's here. And it's more tribalistic and nepotism, classism that exists here compared to in the States, where it's racism, discrimination, nepotism exists to a point as well. and classism as well in the States. But here, tribalism plays a huge role. So you being a foreigner, knowing certain key people, people attached to the president, people who attached to people who know the president, people attached to people who are even the low-level, mid-level, working in the government is super important. And you being a foreigner will actually help you with that. And I'll tell you why. Because as a foreigner, people automatically think you have money. That may be furthest from the truth, because in the States, I'm middle class. I'm working class / middle class. Even though I made $94,000 a year, that is nothing in New York. And even though I'm a landlord, so ultimately I made over 100, it's still very hard to save when your expenses are so high, you have so many demands, and then the rest of your family is struggling and you're trying to help them out as well too. So all of those come into play why that money is not really good money in New York, USA. However, in other countries, you can expand it. And it means more to make $4,000 in Uganda or Kenya than it does in America. And $5,000 in America isn't really nothing. I made a little more than that and it still wasn't enough. So here, when you're making 4,000, say you're making 1,000 less, it's a lot better. You can actually live a better quality of life. But Mr. Foreigner, Mrs. Foreigner, still do not think that $100,000 means a lot here. That was one of my mistakes initially. I'm going to talk about that in another video. But initially I thought I was going to come here and buy everything up just with a little $100,000. And when I get rid of my assets and also I sell some of my stock, I'm going to be in, listen, next year, I am still not going to be in a position when I liquidate certain things to do what I wanted to do initially, because I've learned a lot more. I've become more educated from being on the grounds in the continent, and $100,000 ain't really ish here. It's not a lot of money as people think it is. So keep that in mind as well. Your money is going to stretch as far as your lifestyle in some ways, but that also depends if you want to live a Westerner type of life. It can end up being near the same thing too. So keep that in mind, Mr. Foreigner and Mrs. Foreigner. It's not everything is all a bed of roses. But I'm going to get into the details right now. Welcome to JCJ Ambition, and thank you so much for tuning in. So now I'm going to give the tangibles of how to invest in Kenya and how to do a good job with networking. So to be honest, I got kind of lucky because of the person that hosts my Airbnb is actually in business. He's an entrepreneur. And so when I told him of some of my goals, he connected me to other people within the government that helped assist me with the registration process. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you guys that it's that easy, because if I didn't meet him, my process would have been a lot longer. So for example, I tried to do the business stuff myself on the e-portal website that they have, and then it came into a snag where literally it didn't work. Literally it was online and my application was stuck online where it didn't go toward another process. So when that actually happened, I was stuck and I literally had to end up closing the application and opening a totally new one when someone helped assist me. So I spent money for nothing on that. So you're gonna take bumps and bruises. But if you guys connect to me, I'm willing to do YouTube episodes for free. As far as my time is very valuable to me, but I don't mind spending 15 minutes to give some free game. I'm not here to charge people like I've seen some other people charge other people $1,000 to help assist them with relocating to the continent or help them assist them with this and that. Per now, at this moment, I'm willing to do things for free out of the love for other people who just want to invest. What you want to do is go for the private limited. That's what you're going to go for first, the private limited. And when you go for the private limited, things are going to be much easier. But a big component of that is being able to find a local Kenyan that you trust. Overall, finding a local Kenyan that you trust is one of the biggest key things, because even though you only have to give them 30% of the company while you have 70% and so forth, it's still super important for you to establish relationships with key people. So what I would do is to try to network in forums while you're while you're still in the States, or whether you're still in England, wherever you're at, you're interested in relocating to the continent or even just having a business there, developing relationships, meeting people in forums, whether through Facebook, other forums, and just talking about some of your goals and your dreams, networking with different key professionals, going on different hubs, trying to network and with key people to make sure that you can build relationships that can last a lifetime. The key component that I would say also is making sure that you come to the continent itself. If you do not come to the continent itself, then you're going to be in a seriously bad situation. And why do I say that? Because if you're trusting someone that you never met, that's a key thing that where you're gonna really fail and not be successful in your endeavors. So I would say networking with different people while you're here, going to the hubs, going to different business gatherings, which are similar to our Chamber of Commerce and one-stop centers, going to different places like that here in Kenya. And I'm gonna put some links and key information in the description to make sure that you guys can be successful in your endeavors on the continent. What I would also say, another important part of it, what I would also say is 5 things. Making sure that you're always networking with people, making sure that you're developing a portfolio, that you have things to showcase to people, making sure that you also know the laws, that you have a lawyer on site that you trust or someone that seems trustworthy, and also making sure that you can have everything through contracts with your business partner. Because for you to be able to do the business without $100,000 in Kenya, you have to have a Kenyan partner. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in other YouTube episodes, but for now, I'm just giving you guys the basics. So as you can see on the screen, you'll see some of my documentation. You would go through the e-portal. You would basically go through the application process for a private limited. You would have to give certain shares to your partner who has 30%. So you have to give a minimum of 30%, which is best practice to your Kenyan partner. In my case, I'm switching it to 70%. Currently, right now, it's 50%. But I didn't have to do that. I did that for certain reasons to get the application pushed through faster. But you can always change it in the future as far as your shares and different things of that nature as well, too. And you also have to make sure that even if it's just 1,000 US, that you at least have something to show that, you know, you're going to build your business off of this. And this person owes this amount of shares and so forth. Also, you have to develop a KRA PIN as well too, and that all is easy to do through the registration office. And I was able to do that off of networking with key people within the registration office who helped me with the KRA PIN and so forth, and get my paperwork to make sure that it was approved and so forth. Because if you're still in the States or somewhere else and you want to do business in Kenya, you're gonna run through so many roadblocks, you're not gonna know what hit you. For example, when I was doing the paperwork process initially, you know, like I said, I had lots of roadblocks, different things within the paperwork. They returned it back to me and they said I couldn't do JCJ Ambition Worldwide because there were acronyms within the business name. And then they came back to me and they said, these corrections need to be done because your business is a consulting education business. And then they came back to me and they said, you need certain corrections done on your application for it to process through. When it was finally time to process through and for me to change it and so forth, they said, no, you need to actually take the name and close to seize the name and then start over and so forth with something else if this is the route that you want to take. So what sped the process for me having to wait 21 days or more or longer, and trust me, it can be longer. With COVID here on the continent, things are a lot slower than what we're used to. You have to be extremely patient, extremely assertive, and definitely confident about how you want to move and what you're going to do. So studying is the best thing to do. So a big part of that was the contacts that I had within the registration department. They helped me along the process to make sure that I was proficient in the paperwork. I knew some of the legalese language and I could move forward. In addition to getting the advice from my lawyer initially, that also helped with the process. A big key part, and I keep saying key because you know it's a key moment, but a big part for a foreigner to successfully do business in Kenya includes networking. A big key part includes contacts within the government's office. A big key part is having some capital where you can pay to play. A big key part is knowing exactly what you want to do and is it feasible, doing feasibility studies, meeting with a lawyer beforehand, and them asserting and definitely certifying there's certain things you can do on the continent when you're here. And number 5, also having a passion for what you want to accomplish. A lot of Pan-Africans that I meet, they want to end up doing a lot of things with agricultural business. That's not my lane. I'm not really interested in stuff like that. But there's definitely markets for that, especially in Uganda, from what I've seen and the people I've networked with out there. So for me, I'm looking to do education and consulting, and eventually I want to get into other routes as far as music, and also, which is a passion of mine as well, and also different other endeavors that I'll talk about in the future. So I have a lot of goals, plans, and initiatives in place, and it's all been possible through my contacts and networking with different key people on the continent. And a big part for foreigners to be successful is networking with other foreigners, but that's not always easy, because I've met certain people in Uganda who are Black Americans, and the love wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I met them in Acacia Mall, and I was excited because I was like, yo, another Black American. That's dope. Hey, how are you? You know, and I was trying to like build a reputation. And I don't know what it is with some of us, but we're very hyper competitive against each other. And, you know, that could have been a key moment. He doesn't know what I'm doing. I'm bringing resources to the continent, and I don't know what he's doing, but I know a little bit about more what he's doing because I follow his YouTube channel once in a while. But the love wasn't there. It was like almost like I was pestering him, and I was like, I'm not a son, you know, I'm used to being on some boss time. So I'm just not used to that type of interaction. You know, I'm used to more like it's all love or we don't deal with each other, period. So I decided to distance myself, and I didn't really even interact after I started seeing the way after I said hello to him and how are you, man? It's a pleasure to meet you. You know, hopefully we can connect on something. I was doing it out of a Pan-African love, but that type of love, that type of fairy tale stuff that you have does not exist on the continent. You have to pay to play. You know, so those 4 things or 5 things are what I would say are most important. Definitely being able to get out of your shell and know that this is different from doing business in America. You know, like I said, pay for play, money talks out here. It talks everywhere, but in here in particular, like, you can get the middleman to do certain things for you with very little capital. You know, with just a few $100s, you could get people to do certain things for you in your best interest. So keep that in mind. So for a foreigner to be successful, I would say networking, making sure that you pay to play, you have capital set aside. Also, that, you know, you're not just not networking, but you have key people within the government that you can network with. And also that you understand the culture that it is here that you're interacting with. But yeah, so I went through the e-portal, registered as a private limited business. You do not have to register your business name first for a private limited. You can just go straight through the private limited, register your business, and then you would get the KRA PIN so you can do taxes here in Kenya, which are usually from January to June and so forth. So as a foreigner, networking is key. But the number one reason, the number one reason why I say Kenya is the best place for foreigners to do business is because you do not need the $50,000 or $100,000 capital to invest in Kenya. Like, unlike most sub-Saharan countries, and I'm not talking about the other ones, you know, at the top, that you know, you get where I'm coming from. Those other countries, I'm talking about sub-Saharan countries. All of them, generally, you have to have the $100,000, or in the case of Ghana, as I told you guys, $500,000. So all of that love, all of that come back home stuff, none of it is tangible until you see the laws change. Until you see the laws change and they help assist, especially people who are descended. Now, Senegal and Ghana have made a lot of legitimate changes where they're allowing people to become citizenship if they can prove it. So in some cases in Ghana, you can gain the citizenship. But from what I've seen that process take 10 years for some people. Most of the people who I've seen gain the citizenship, it's taken them 10 years, the majority of them. Very rare that it takes them just a year or 2 years. But Senegal and Ghana are very receptive to that type of situation. And in some other African countries like Nigeria, I've seen it happen to some YouTubers and some other people who are in the Pan-African space as well. But those come with some conditions. Just remember, wink, wink, you gotta pay to play here on the continent, regardless of what you wanna do. So I'm not interested in necessarily being a citizen at this time, as I'm actually looking to secure citizenship somewhere else, not necessarily in Kenya at this time. However, Kenya is the best place for a foreigner to do business because of how also accommodating they are. Like I mentioned, if you go to a lot of these business hubs, you go to a lot of these networking meetings, a lot of the people, because you're a foreigner, are going to be more receptive to talking to you. And I've met people that thought I had a lot more money than I do, and also people that just generally wanted to have a conversation with the foreigner and ask business questions and different things of what I do there in the States and so forth. I met people that had a lot more money than I do at these meetings and so forth, like legitimate American millionaires, and they wanted to talk to me and kind of get some feedback from me on certain things they were interested in doing in the States. So those are the type of people you can rub shoulders with, and it's easier here in some ways than it would be let me speak for America, in New York, because in New York a lot of those people tend to stay around each other but don't necessarily network outside of their class system. But here on the continent, you can rub shoulders with people who are legitimate American millionaires here in Kenya that want certain advice, pick your brain, and to talk about different ideologies and issues with you, just to kind of hear your perspective because you're a foreigner. So in that case, it's almost like you're a little bit special in some ways, and you get certain special treatment. You get some American privilege that you can use to your benefit as a business owner and also as an entrepreneur. And that is why Kenya is so special, because even though that may happen in other African countries, what I see most Pan-African YouTubers doing are they're doing business under their table. They're not doing business legitimately and legally. They're doing business where they can't write off for taxes when they have to do a plane flight and so forth. They're doing businesses that when they spend money on the continent, they can't write it off and do different things like it, whether it's paying an Airbnb, lights, electricity, whatever, buying a new computer, laptop for your business. They're doing things that they cannot benefit from. One of the biggest reasons why people are business owners in America, to benefit from, the laws that favor business owners, right? So they can't even benefit from certain situations because they're not legitimate business owners. They're under the table. They may give a few thousand or a few hundred to someone, and then they have an interest in the company, but they're not legitimate. Doing it through my way, absolutely 1000% legitimate. And you can do your research and you can look into it and see if what I'm saying is correct. I would urge you to, I would encourage you to, and I would say if you want more information, you can always reach out to me, free of charge, no money. I know this is new in the Pan-African space. Free of charge for someone who's actually experienced certain things on the continent, actually have accomplished certain things. Yes, I am willing to do it for free, but my time is very limited, so I would probably do it like 15-minute consultations with people just to help out another person. All I ask is that you just subscribe. That's all I ask. It's not too much to ask, is it? All I ask is that you just subscribe to my channel. And if you're interested in other information, you can definitely reach out to me, leave a comment, subscribe, like the video, and share the video, as this is very useful information to people on the continent. But before I end, I want to give all props, all respect due to Miss Dr. Harnett, because she is the one that actually motivated me. I saw her video like 3 years ago, and I was like, really? Could you really? Because I've been a Pan-African for what? 8 years now, and I've been in the conscious space for around 10 years. A little more than 10 years, like 12 years and so forth. But I've always been a person who's wanted to learn more. I've been a person who's been motivated to become a better version of myself, and also to be proud of who I am, self-aware, conscious, and so forth. And that's been a big part of my life. But not being able to participate in the business space, just coming here on an emotional ring, is not the way to go. You want to be able to invest and have something to gain from it ultimately. So this is the reason why I say Kenya is the best place for foreigners to do business. I successfully have established my business here. I successfully have a good Kenyan business partner who is going to be limited to 30% and does not have a majority over the company. I have the final say. He understands that I'm the boss, and we have a good relationship. I pay him the minimum wage, which is $100 currently in Kenya, and we're looking to expand that once business expands and so forth. But within these first few years, we're developing relationships, building contracts, and we're going to go from there where we have virtual career services and vocational rehabilitation classes. And I'm very excited for the future and looking forward to it. So there you go. This is why Kenya is the best place for a foreigner to do business. The fact is that you have the American privilege. The fact is that you're looked at as special in some cases. The fact is that you can do business here without investing $100,000 liquid into, or showing that you have $100,000 in your bank and so forth, because usually they'll ask for the paperwork. So you don't necessarily have to invest $100,000, and you don't have to even show that you have $100,000, and you can still do business here in Kenya. Now, if you have that, you can go the other way, but even that comes with challenges, because you're talking about the business visa, because some people may say, oh, well, you have a partner and you don't have 100%. But even the other way comes with challenges, because you're going to have to make sure that you keep having that type of liquid capital to show that you have it. And then you're going to have to go for business visas, which are only for a few years at a time. So 2-3 years, you're going to have to re-up every time. And it comes with other challenges with certain people looking into your business more. So you have more freedom in the way that I'm talking about, for sure, because you don't have to show certain documentation the way that you would if you had the $100,000 capital. Now, you do have certain protections with being in Kenyan Invest that I don't have. For example, where if you had to go the legal route and sue certain people, it would be easier in that way, where the court would 100% be behind you if it was a legitimate case. In my case, I have to prove it a lot more and be able to show a case and so forth. So those are the downsides of it. And of course, that someone else has a part of your company. But those are all things you can change over time. If you get the $100,000 in the future, you can always switch it over if you decide to do so. So there's ways that you can go around it. But this is why Kenya is the best place for foreigners to invest and for them to consider. Kenya also is one of the leading, let me say Nairobi. Nairobi is one of the leading cities in all of Africa as far as technology, as far as business is concerned. And they look at Kenya as the entry into East Africa and so forth. And so a lot of American companies that are big, whether it's Twitter, Google, all these places want to open up offices here, or already have certain hubs here and so forth for the people. China is also looking to invest a ton of money within businesses soon. So you can get angel investors out here. You can get different people who believe in your business and want to have a share of it to come out here and really partner with you there, so you can have certain capital to do certain things. So that is why Kenya is the best place for foreigners to invest. Think of it also, Kenya, next to Rwanda, next to Ethiopia, next to Uganda. You have the way to go through the EAC, which is the business and the commerce of investing in other countries, possibly through your company, where you can do business in all of East Africa, where there's like around 200, 300 million people altogether. Kenya has around 50 million. Uganda has around 45 million. Tanzania like around 60 million. So you're talking about a lot of people, and then Rwanda has about 12. So you're talking about a lot of people that you can touch with your businesses just by entry level into Nairobi. So all of these are legitimate reasons why Kenya is the best place to invest for foreigners. If you were to go through Ghana, even though they still have similar things and so forth, it's not as inclusive as the EAC is, and also the ability to touch other key markets, other key cities like Kampala, for example, and so forth. So keep all of that in mind. You guys do the research. Definitely get a lawyer, do feasibility studies if you think it could be successful here. My business is a long-term end game, but it is something that I definitely can see myself benefiting from financially, and also being able to offer the people a great resource of tangible skill sets, an experience that I've learned in the Western world and performed at the highest levels, where I've had my master's degree, multiple certifications, over 14 years of professional work experience. And I've also have a business contract as well too, where I was able to be successful in that arena. So there you go. This is why Kenya is the best country in sub-Saharan Africa to invest in. If If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment, subscribe, like, share, and scream at me, man. Have a good day. Peace.